Our story of polarity, a day in the life look at embracing masculine and feminine energies. In today's episode, we're going to hit 3 key points here. The first one is, what is masculine and feminine energy, or we also like to call essence? Number 2 is getting clear on each other's authentic balance of that. Number 3 is consciously choosing to create charge. And you're going to want to make sure you stay to the end. We will share the number one thing to avoid that will kill polarity that we see with our clients time and time again. We've experienced this. You're going to want to make sure you hang around for that. This is a really juicy topic for us, and we think it's so important because every time Courtney and I learn a deeper layer of this and implement it and integrate it, it does create more what we call juiciness. Is it creates more charge, it creates more of that, in today's world, that word of polarity. It creates this just beautiful dance of energy between us both, which makes a relationship more enjoyable. It makes it more pleasurable. And it's the place that we see in couples that in our online offer and with the couples that we support. It's a place where things aren't fully clear how to do it. And it's like, okay, polarity, it's great. It makes sense, but what do we do? And so we want to give you some real talk behind the scenes in our life of what it actually looks like and how to actually embody it so that you can reap the rewards and the benefits of it.
Yeah, what I'm excited about is diving into some of the pieces that when I was learning about polarity and learning about the stance of masculine and feminine, they were the questions that I was like, but what about this? What about that? And we're going to dive into those pieces as now that I'm actually in the sacred dance with someone where we're working with it consciously, I'm finally getting clarity about the places that felt sort of abstract. Like I get that in theory, but what does that actually look and feel like in daily life? And now we're living it, and now we get to share. Yeah. We're in the practice of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and why don't we use one of our most current experiences to maybe lay out for our listeners this dance of polarity?
Mm-hmm. Do you want to start with the story? I'm curious, where does it start?
So for us, we just came out of the holidays, or, we're now in 2026. Yes. And through the holidays this year, sometimes we'll travel and we'll move away, but this year we decided to stay home. And we were so excited to stay home and just spend time together as a family. And there were some surprising factors that weren't fully anticipated. And that was this cold, this kind of intense cold that had some flu symptoms in there of aching. And both of us kind of went down for a few days on each side during this holiday break. And you, sweetie, are absolutely incredible when I'm sick, is my experience. It's like so nurturing, and is there anything I can do? And you bring that sweetness and that tenderness and that care. And for me, I notice my tendency is to kind of really mobilize into more of my masculine energy and just take on all the responsibilities of like more doing oriented. Like I bring in the care and I hold you and I make tea, but in my world, it's very, very masculine. It's like,
there's a mission to execute now.
Yeah,
mission is handling the home while Courtney's sick. Go.
And the mission of doing all the practical things while you rest, and even meeting you, of practically holding you with my body while you're sick, rubbing your head, being like, I'm here. But as we discovered, which we'll go into a little bit here,
which is amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When you go into that, you're like, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for holding our home so well.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking it so seriously.
Yeah, you're welcome. I take it very seriously.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of shit done, and I pride myself of how much shit I can get done in that doing mode. And what that kind of ended up looking like is maybe a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, if not longer, of me really in strong masculine essence and not really into more of the feminine essence part. And what we kind of discovered even today before this podcast is that the energy started to become, the words I would use here is maybe a little bit neutralized or depolarized.
I'd call it stale.
Stale.
Things started to feel empty and stale.
Yeah.
Even though we were doing all the things.
Yeah.
That's how I would, like, you'd come over and you're like, okay, this is where I need to hug Courtney, or this is where but it felt kind of stale.
Yeah, it did feel stale.
Yeah.
And then, so this is Monday. Monday is where we do our brand day, like together, our online offer, the Sacred We. This is where we, just jam on all our business pieces where we have childcare. And we were coming into the studio to record the podcast, and we went for a hike up our mountain here before coming in, and it was kind of stale. We weren't fully deeply connected like we've been when the polarity is really strong, and I think both of us noticed it. And so we came into the studio, and I could feel in me a little bit of a defeat. I'm like, kind of tired of just holding this masculine essence and role. Kind of just, yeah, like I've exhausted the masculine essence battery. And what was really sweet in that is we both sat down, and how we do, and we just kind of do a check-in before we do the podcast and talk about the topic, but we always make sure that we're really synced up and connected before delivering the episode to the best of our ability. You've probably listened to a few where it's like, yeah, there's still a bit of crunch in there, not fully repaired. But most of the time, we like really get into the like, oh my God, and we co-regulate and look into each other's eyes and we kiss and all the things. And we create from that space. And today we like really didn't have it at the start. And what was really powerful is I felt you, and I'm just describing my experience, and I'd love to hear your version, is I felt you kind of move in to more of the masculine essence and be the Banks a little bit. And then in the part of me that was just tired of being in that role for a couple weeks now, predominantly because it was like just doing all the things. Then I could actually feel myself. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm kind of feeling tender underneath it all, under all the doing. Like the part of me that needs to be more it's gone stagnant. Like I have a sensitive, tender side to me, and I hadn't cried in over 2 weeks. That's abnormal. So I was out of balance. And it was cool to feel your structure, because even just feeling you go into it, I then just felt all of a sudden sadness start to move through me. And then the words that really did it for me is when I heard you reflect back to me, wow, I can really see how hard you've been working and how hard you try and all the ways you've been showing up. And then I was like, ugh. And then my heart just opened and I had a really good cry. And you came over and you put your hand on my leg and looked into my eyes and acknowledged my part of the role of being in that while you were kind of down and out and sick for the last little bit. And oh my God, it brought back the nourishment of the polarity. Like it kind of brought things back into balance. And I was able to move those tears, have that move through. And then it brought us into the juiciness where there was charge again of then you getting to share your side and your experience. And then I really loved how it then turned into learning, and what you described even just before we started this one right now is you saying, whoa, the way you described with so much clarity of what you're needing to feel nourished in what you're providing. Like, whoa, that's the most depth you've added to it. And it led into us being more into that excitement, co-creative energy, juicy, like back into the sensual, like, oh, I kind of want, I want you. and it was like, oh, there it is. Like there's that polarity. So this was just a present example of where things fell out of it and then how we got back into it. I'd love to hear, any pieces from your experience that you want to add to that or.
Yeah, well, I'd been feeling for a while this like you're masculine, but then there's a place where it gets to, and I didn't know the language where, yeah, it starts to feel stale, right?
Mhm.
And then it's interesting because what can show up in me is I start to feel angry, like I want you to feel your feelings. The way it shows up is in me is I can't feel you. Like I stop feeling you. I stop feeling us. Like I'm feeling you. I'm feeling you there executing, but I can't feel the deeper you is how, and then I'm like, I want to feel you. But then,
Can I ask a question on that?
yeah.
When you say, because I think this is a really big place
Mm-hmm.
of people longing to understand that, even with more nuance. When you say you can't feel me, what are the qualities, the characteristics, or
I
like,
can't feel your deeper heart. I
mm,
couldn't feel your deeper needs. I couldn't feel your emotions. It was like you were a robot almost a little bit. Like that's an extent, like, but it kind of like a robot. Like you're doing all the things. You're like, I'm holding Courtney and I'm doing this, I'm executing that. But when you're holding me, I'm like, where are you? Like the deeper presence where I can like feel your emotions and your heart and this warmth, the softness, which is probably your feminine, right?
yeah.
The and so you're there and you're providing and but I'm like, where I can't feel that feminine part of you. And then I start to feel disconnected and you're offering all the things, but my cup isn't even being filled by the things, right? Is the tricky part. And then you're like, I'm providing so much. And I'm like, but I don't feel nourished. Even though of course it's helpful, right? And then I got clear. Today I actually had childcare, so then all of a sudden I was like mobilizing, right? My masculine could like come online in a different way. And I just knew I need Mike to feel his feelings. And when I was sitting here and I was more in myself and my structure because I wasn't parenting and I haven't had as much childcare right over the holidays too, which is part of it.
Your symptoms have
Yeah,
lessened from being sick.
I'm not as sick, but really like it's like just having some space, right? And sitting here and I was like, oh, here, and then I was like in myself, like, oh, here I am. There's my masculine, there's my feminine. Okay, whoa, whew, kind of feeling, right? I was like so relieved to rest into my own masculine. um and then you walked in and then I was just really clear. I really want to hold Mike in what's here because I could feel your tenderness. And so I was really intentional about being the banks and really right away, hey, I imagine you're feeling a lot about this and just naming it and coming in with the intention of being that masculine presence that could allow you to soften. And the thing is, as soon as you softened, my whole body was like, ah, there Mike is. There he is. Ah, and the softness in your face came back. The sparkle in your eye came back. Like just I felt there's this presence that comes out of your face different. Like I could feel like when you're in the masculine and you go too far into that, I can't feel the presence in your face. And then suddenly there was this like presence in your face and I felt your eyes actually connecting with my eyes. And so you were feeling your emotions, right? And we were like being with that. And I was just holding space for what was true for you while touching, because I know touch is so important for you. But then I was being nourished by feeling you again, you know? And that's the cool thing about polarity, right? Is in a way, in that moment, then who's being masculine, who's being feminine? Technically, you're being feminine in that moment and I'm being masculine, but my feminine is actually deeply being nourished by you going there.
Can we go deeper on that? So for you in that experience, what's nourishing about that? Because there's a lot of men, from my experience, and the men that I've supported, the men that have showed up in, our online offering and program. So it's like for those men that maybe feel frightened of opening up into the more vulnerable feminine side and feeling the emotions or letting their partner in. What's nourishing about that when I do? So let's say when I go into that feeling and I do start to go into the tenderness and I let you into that part, how does that nourish you?
It's grounding. It softens my whole body. I feel like I get you more. I can sense you more. And it just literally creates a sense of connection where there's not otherwise. So it's wild. Like you can be sitting there and you can be saying all the words and doing all the things. And I hear women talk about this, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not connected to that feminine in you, like where you're connected to that feminine, then I can't feel fully connected to you.
Is that because if I'm not able to embrace that in me, there's like a distrust of what I offer in holding that feminine part of you?
No, I think in that moment, you actually can't connect with me. Like if you're not connected to your feminine in that moment, you might be telling yourself you're connecting with me, but you're actually not connecting with the feminine in
I
you.
see what you're saying. So what I'm hearing you say is because there's a part of me that isn't fully present with my own experience and the balance of the masculine and feminine essence in me, it is impacting the connection because there's a part of me not fully online. Yeah?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that you're not actually making contact with my feminine. It's sort of like this. It's like that aw, sorry you're feeling that way.
Well, see you later.
I didn't quite feel that deeply, but whereas like how do you even put words to there's such a difference between you can say that to me and I can feel so dismissed, or I can actually feel you come into contact with my feeling, where you're actually feeling with me. And I notice if that's not there for an extended period of time, I don't feel connected.
Yeah, which is so interesting because to describe my inner experience of the lead up to this, what really started to make its way into my heart and my experience was when you could really see me. And we'll go deeper into this of like what is masculine essence and what is feminine essence, but I just want to touch it here is there was a part of me that was getting like crunchier and a bit exhausted of not being seen in the masculine part and the masculine providership and the practical, but it was the feminine part of me pissed about that of like, don't you see the beauty I bring with all this effort and all of this doing and execution and holding that isn't my normal role and prioritizing family connection over working in the mission and having created a mission that's so fruitful that we can just, take a few weeks off. It was like that part. But when you started to specifically name the things that I felt very seen in, I felt it immediately peeled me open. It brought me into my heart. It was like, oh yeah, that. Like it was just even a few of those sentences, I couldn't not feel my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because what I experienced from you was that piercing energy, like that Shiva energy, just true presence of actually seeing me now that there's more resource. And like you said, you chose to orient and engage in that masculine energy and offer that to me, which just is almost and I've watched this in our journey, it's almost impossible to not flop into polarity again because it's so a rebalancer of like, yeah, that's the part. Oh, that's missing. Oh, now I'm feeling this. And then, we've done it enough times over the years where it's like, oh, yeah, there we are.
It's funny too, because for a few days I kept trying to come at it from the feminine way. So I kept trying to share my feelings with you.
That's right.
But it wasn't working. So there's like a period of time in the polarity where it works. Like I can go and I can just share. I can say, I'm feeling this and I'm feeling that. And you're like, oh, and then it brings us into polarity. And then we hit a point where it's not working.
I reckon.
In fact, the more I share my feelings, the worse it gets.
It's true.
And then I'm getting the hang of, I have to go. I have to now be the masculine, because it's a sign that you're actually needing to go into the feminine and to be nourished there, because you don't got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just the name in it, because I think a lot of men can live in this place, is a part of me has preference of being in the masculine essence and role, because it's more invigorating on a level. It's not true once I actually drop in and allow myself to be vulnerable and go into the more feminine part. But there's a part where it's like, yeah, it's like it's like, oh, it's like testosterone and like accomplishment and progesterone because of all the things that are being accomplished, and it feels really good. And and then but then things dry up because there's a lack of full life experience in there, because the feminine essence is what makes it sweet and juicy and pleasurable. But there's a place where I don't allow, or I don't even know that I need to go into it. Sometimes, like in this week, how it expressed was, I haven't had a cry in a long time. That's not like me. Interesting. Yeah, I'm a bit extra irritable right now and agitated. Interesting.
You get very focused on everything needs to be more and more efficient. This is inefficient and that's inefficient.
It's true.
And it's like, whoa, how efficient are we going to get? And for me, I think I notice it like quite early, but I haven't quite figured out. It takes me a while to catch on what I need to do. Like that's a sign I need to flip the polarity, right? But let's talk about this a little bit, about like one of the things I just want to say, first of all, whenever we're talking about masculine, feminine, if any of you are triggered out there as we're using these words, or you're wondering, or for Mike and I, and we're going to go into this, we see masculine and feminine as qualities that are on a spectrum. And the invitation as you're listening is to really just feel, where are you on that spectrum, and how do you identify and notice these essences in you? And that's important. And we're going to actually talk about that's actually an important part of the process of the dance of polarity, because it's not as simple as saying you're a man and so you are the masculine.
Masculine.
Yeah. And
which you'll hear us say.
Yeah.
Which sometimes, just to add to this, it's like sometimes we're talking about our orientation of gender.
Yes.
Of the masculine and the feminine. But there's another place where we're actually describing the energy that isn't gender specific.
Yeah. Now, if you look at men and like biology, there are qualities that tend to be more alive in men that have masculine biology with certain hormones, yes. Right? And there tends to be certain qualities that are alive for women who have menstruation and have estrogen and progesterone. And so these qualities can be more in the masculine and the feminine, right? And there's so much nuance. We love astrology. We're so shaped by astrology. You can be a woman that also has quite masculine astrology, and that will create a certain essence. And this is actually a point we're wanting to make. But maybe let's start off with what they are. Yeah.
So why don't you start off? I'd love to hear your experience of like, what are some of the qualities or the experiences that make up feminine essence or feminine energy.
How I see feminine essence, the word I like to use is Shakti, which is, it's basically like there's the Shiva Shakti. So I'm going to say Shiva Shakti, which is the masculine and feminine. And the Shiva, these are very spiritual terms, Hinduism. Shiva is the god on the mountain. So if you think about Shiva, he is like the mountain energy, the presence. And there's like a bit of a detachment. He's unattached from life. There's like a bit of a piercing through life with presence, and unattached. And then there's, but loving presence, right? That pure awareness. And then the Shakti is the feminine, which is life energy itself. It's like in the mud, in the dirt. It's the feeling of pleasure. It's the feeling of joy. It's the feeling of, it's the waves on the ocean. It's in life, right inside of it, And this is kind of the basis of how I like to think of it. And for me, the feminine then is emotion and flow. There's a changing, she's changing and she's feeling things deeply and she's moving through the cycles. And, she's ever evolving and can be something different in every moment, And then for me, the masculine is more that energy. It's like the banks. It's the, how are we going to work with this life energy? What are we going to do with it? How are we going to harness this? It's seeing and taking in life and choosing how we're going to be present with it and how we're going to bring awareness and we're going to move it. And now I'd like to hear what you think.
Yeah, I love that so much. Always feels so nourishing to my heart to hear just the description of those energies, especially when they're tied into nature, because that's a lot of how it lands for me too, is like the Shakti Shiva. And, in the expression of how I see some of these qualities, even in myself and what I perceive in you and in your feminine and masculine essence, the feminine essence is for me where I noticed this quality of energy, light, and forever change. It's this, how I've noticed, how I'm noticing it in you is like, I can tell it's very intentional. You chose that shirt and how you feel in it. And those earrings are just so beautiful and match well with your dress and accentuate how you feel in your body. And I love seeing you glow even as I name those earrings. It's like the feminine essence likes to be seen in the beauty and the energy that's gets invoked by the beauty and the light being here. Like, how does this life energy and the constant change influence the world? And like the satiation of like what impact there is, or what's experienced. The feminine essence likes to be seen, and the masculine essence, I notice, and just for everyone listening, there's so many more nuances. I'm just kind of describing the key ones that really help orient me here. Masculine essence is that energy of just presence. It's like that Shiva on the mountain, that is witness to it all, that is in witness to the constant change, the one constant, which is change. And it really loves logic and detail and order. Like when I think of the masculine essence part of me, it's the part that I've heard David Data speak to in this way. It's like that a practical day-to-day way of seeing it is, it's like that energy of when someone walks in the room, it's like, hey, who moved my pen? Or like the salt was over there and now it's over here. It's like, what happened to the order here? It like pays attention to the details. And in relationship, how this shows up is meeting what's being shared and expressed with logic and facts. It's like, wait a minute, that's not true. it's like so in that seat of observation that it's like looking for like the material, factual, structure. And another last little piece there is bringing it back to that nature piece that I love, is like the masculine essence is the banks, and then the feminine essence is the river that flows through those banks. Or another more practical way is like, take a bowl. Masculine essence is the bowl. It's the container that holds the water, the feminine.
It's so cute because in the kitchen, we actually do embody that very like that polarity, because Mike is very like, this needs a place and this like needs to be like this, and let's systematize this, and wait, why is this like this, and what kind of pan do we need to use? And I go in and I feel into what I want to create, And I'm always creating something kind of like beautiful and like new. And then the kitchen is just like total. I mean, I don't feel this way, but other people are like chaos. There's like stuff everywhere. And I'm just in the flow, like in the experience. And I'll just be moving through the kitchen in this like joy of what I'm making and flowing and not really thinking about it and just feeling. And then Mike will come in and he will be like, what is happening in here? This is so illogical. And I'm just looking around like, what do you mean? I'm creating, and then I will clean it up. And it's just such a different way, and he'll watch me like, well, but why would someone take all the spices out at once? Or why, like, there's some things where you're just like, but wait, then what happened here? And it's like, well, I had a feeling that I wanted to do this. And then I had a feeling I wanted to do that. And but I'm in the joy and the beauty of it. And then I'm always shocked when you're like in shock about it.
Yeah. And sometimes often I clean it. the part
I do too. But part of the masculine is he comes in so fast that he wants to clean it right
it's
now.
True. It's like, yeah.
I have my timing.
Yeah, that's true.
I have my rhythm to it.
And we've talked about this. I'd say, if you were to follow your flow all the way through, it might be the next day or the day after.
No, it would happen. I always there's a rhythm to it.
And then I come in with my masculine essence and preference of like, this is illogical and chaotic. We need to deal with this right now. Time to clean the kitchen, this is our little, little dance, which I love. And yeah, and I love this because another way of looking at it is it's like chaos, but the chaos creative. It is creative energy, and I know that even in myself. Like when I'm in the zone building something, like it would probably express in the same way. Like I've got chunks over here, my tools are over there, and at the end I pack up all the tools. And so if I were to look at it through that lens, it's like, yeah, okay, I know that part in me too. And so just want to name.
Thank you.
I love the gifts that come from your creative, flowy, chaos energy.
And I love the gifts that come from your structure and I'm like, oh, I didn't know we could systematize the kitchen in this way. Like I wouldn't have done that in that way, right? It would have been more how it felt and my feelings. And this looks beautiful. And for you, it's like become more functional. But one of the things we're really wanting to invite is that, and this was the part that I was confused about because I felt really a lot of resistance in the polarity of just assuming because Mike's a man and I'm a woman, and maybe even for us, it's true that he's quite masculine and I'm quite feminine. I felt really resistant to the idea that then that means he's meant to be a certain way and I'm meant to be a certain way. That didn't feel right to me. And for me, the key has been really getting clear and understanding that you have to get clear about each other's natural, like at your basic, your essence and where you fall on the spectrum. And by this, we're not talking about what you were socialized to be like. We're talking about the essence of your spirit, of your soul. Where do you truly fall on the spectrum of masculine and feminine that feels like, and by that we mean, what is your natural balance inside? And what I think is really interesting is David Deida talks about that you will actually call in a partner that is of the right balance for you. Of course, if you're actually embodying your balance. And I had gone on a whole journey, around that, where I actually explored my gender and my, and had to de-layer a whole bunch of layers and reclaim my masculine and and then landed in, I'm actually quite a feminine essence. But, to like map this out for you all, I'm very feminine. I have a lot of femininity. I'm very flowy. Very emotional, but I also have a very strong masculine. And there's a few different traits that for me has been confusing for people at times because I can be so feminine. But then I have this quality in me, and it's in my astrology. I am very assertive. I'm very direct. I have a lot of willpower, and I'm meant to be very fierce in that. And so I have this really watery, like, and then I have this, like, I have a mission. I got to do this. And it's actually in my astrology. That's how I'm designed. That's how I'm meant to be. But I didn't know how to rectify those parts in me. And I remember, you know, even as a child, for example, or in earlier relationships, what would happen is I didn't know how to have it all together. And I didn't know, how could I be with a masculine who's really masculine, because I'm really feminine. I'm actually needing that. But then my strong will, you know, leader, because I'm a leader, man. Like, I got to lead sometimes. I got to. Like, how can that all be there? And this has been the journey for me of polarity with Mike, is for us to learn how to do the dance of polarity, where all those parts can be here.
Yeah, because if your masculine can't be here, like, he's fierce.
Oh yeah, he gets pissed.
And he gets pissed. Like,
he actually starts to want to take over then. Well, fine, if you're not going to let me be here, I'm just going to take over the masculine role then.
Yeah, totally. Which we totally had to learn out in the beginning of our relationship. And there was a lot of, you know, the importance of this conversation for all of you listening, tuning into this, is finding the balance point is the game changer, because then it's being real with what's actually here. And then how to move to the next phase that we'll talk about is consciously choosing when to engage to make sure the polarity is strong. Because we are in control of the polarity if we know the balance and how to attune to where things are at currently and like shift things. And you know, when I think of the balance in me, what's been confusing for me, and I was so grateful to David Data when he actually speaks to this, you know, it's very common in people that there is a heavier weight to masculine or feminine energy. It's usually heavily weighted of one or the other, and it's more rare to have an equal balance. And what's been really confusing in my journey is when I've really felt into this and really contemplated my experiences and my relationships, I'd say I'm equal. I'm very balanced. I'm very like 50-50, 50% feminine, 50% masculine. And both of them are very strong, which has made it challenging relationally. Because when I look back in my journey or in the, you know, my upbringing, the feminine, my experience is maybe perceived as weak or just too sensitive, and the masculine part wasn't really supported. It was seen as a problem or intimidating, or, you know, anyways. So when it's come into our relationship, I'm so grateful, because in the past marriage, I was previously married, is I'd say what you spoke to is, without knowing or have done the work to find the authentic balance, it's like we'll attract whatever we're embodying at the time. And when I look at that relationship, you know, as you were sharing that, I'm like, oh yeah, it was like masculine, the polarity that got attracted, there ended up being at the authentic expression two competing masculine roles. Like, it was just, it didn't work. And then so it kind of neutralized and depolarized the actual authentic connection point. But then doing all the work, starting to get in touch and know the health and embracing the feminine essence part, started to bring more health within me. And then when I met you, I was like, oh, that's it. It's like, you, a feminine who has that strong masculine energy, or else if you didn't, I'd just walk all over you.
Yeah.
And because it's strong, it's really strong, and clear in the direction it's going. And though I also needed a feminine who was like default was feminine, so that energy could really be a safe space for the depth of the feminine in me. And that's created a really sweet charge, and it really created a lot of polarity in our relationship, in our day-to-day life, which we're talking about. So this is the point of this one. Our day-to-day life is juicy, I'd say, because of that. And, you know, we were talking about that over the holidays here. Like, well, it doesn't matter how big of a rupture we have. Like, almost all the time are still very attracted to each other and want to make love, and because of that balance.
Well, I think we both, because we got to know those parts in ourselves, right? Like the befriending of both parts, we are able to move between them when needed, when aware. I mean, I'm becoming more and more conscious of it, and I think that's the sword to refine, right? Consciously, what energy do I need to be in right now to help things come back into polarity, right? Or into balance. And also allowing, sometimes it's going to be too yin and too yang, and that's okay. And then the polarity, the sexual charge won't be there, but there could still be something nourishing. Like we do that a bit when we're doing business meetings, right? We can be very yang, you know, but then all of a sudden we'll shift and I'll go more into yin, and, you know, and then all of a sudden the sexual charge is there. And I think for me, it's like refining that sword and learning how to move between them. And
Maybe share more. Can you share more on
yeah,
that one? Because there's the piece that's important when it comes to this balance is when we're talking about polarity, if we're wanting the sexual charge, there needs to be the polarity. But I love to highlight even more, because this can be a tricky one of going into this third, phase of our conversation today, is the consciously choosing the benefit of there being the yang yang, yin yin. Maybe share a little bit more.
yeah, well, I mean, we've had such powerful moments where we've both just gone into yin together, where, you know, someone's watching Cedar and we've just laid together and just gone into our feelings, where we're just laying beside each other, and you're crying and I'm crying, and we're just laying there in our feelings and in the ocean, and it's so cleansing and clearing, and it feels so intimate. Um
But
and
not sexually charged. Or
I
would you say?
mean, I don't know. They say that, but I feel like I find it arousing. But I think for me, but I don't know if that's. I'm like I have a lot of Scorpios. Scorpios are pretty sexual, and also like maybe most people get washed out in the ocean, but this I'm like ooh, this is juicy. But what I do feel is, in that moment, I don't think either of us could execute it because we're in the ocean.
But we have.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. I'm glad we're having this conversation, because in David Data's work, he would say there isn't the sexual charge when there's the both in the masculine or both in the feminine. Yeah, and I'd say in our experience it is different. Like
But is that maybe the balance in us?
it could be the balance even within us.
But what about, because you've said, like, when we do go yang yang, like, I like that. Because of course my masculine is looking for, he's been wanting to be accepted by men, like by, a man who can still see my beauty and my femininity, and then totally receive my really fierce masculine. And also I have a lot of presence. I'm a very present person. I have a lot of presence. And so
Piercing presence.
I have a piercing presence, yes. And I'm even just saying that because I've been reflected that by a lot of, like, you're very present. And and that's a very masculine quality, right? And but it's interesting when we've gone yang yang, which, like, when we're working or something, I can find that really, like, yeah. But it's funny, the sexual charge I feel is different than the feminine. It's like now I'm like lit up like a masculine, if that makes sense.
You don't want to penetrate me, do you?
Kinda, but in a different way. Like in a different way.
Like you want to take charge.
Like I would take charge. Yeah, like I would like climb on top of you and I'm going to take charge of this kind of energy, like that. Versus just me softening and opening. It's more like a I'm going to make this happen kind of energy in kind of a penetrating way.
Yeah, right.
But you've said that you don't feel sexually attracted when I'm in the yang.
In the past.
Okay.
That's changed a lot. I'd say in the past, while I was still newer in entrepreneurship, I found it intimidating because you had developed such a strong masculine that I was like, I can't even be in the room because now I feel so emasculated. But I'd
More.
say now, like feeling so confident and in the game of entrepreneurship and building and so clear on who I am and what I'm here to offer the world and what we're here to offer the world. Like I'm so solid in it that I'd say now I like it. Like even when you, yeah, even when you said that, I'm like, I feel really yang right now, but I kind of like your yang right now. It's like, yeah, should
Ooh.
we pause this right now and fuck on the floor of the studio?
Yeah, it's a different energy
It's a
though.
different energy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would kind of want to meet you.
It's different. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Which is,
That feels really good for me.
yeah, nice. And so, yeah, again, I'm glad we're having this conversation because what I really want for the listeners, even as we're exploring this, and this is why I like going into just real life, like behind closed doors, like what does this actually look like? Because there's so many different examples and resources. I'd say for you listening, like really the invitation here is finding your version, your relationship to polarity, your relationship to masculine and feminine essence. And then in your connection, if you have an intimate partner or the people in your life, how do you notice it? Where things maybe get a bit stagnant, like looking for the symptoms of things are losing their juice or maybe depolarized or neutralizing. I think those are ongoing principles, but how it shows up, how it expresses, how it meets another might express and show up differently.
And have like really have the conversation. What is your authentic essence? What's your sense of for yourself and for your partner? And by this, like we really want you to not what you should or the coping strategy you learned as a kid, right? Not the like this is how I cope and manage, but like in the essence of you, what you long for, what you long to embody.
And not the one that you are maybe more comfortable with, because that's an important nuance. Is there's a lot of people that like, yes, I am mostly masculine, but the actual truth, if there were to be a willingness to go into the vulnerability of your own personal heart, actually, when I go back and I scan through my life, I've actually been longing to be held or like to go into but it's maybe scary because of how it's been met and received. I think that's an important piece because if somebody said this to me when I was in my 20s, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm 99% masculine. But it was because I had felt so hurt in the feminine part of me that it wasn't my true balance. My balance was even, but it took me a lot to actually get to know that in myself of that's my authentic balance. So the invitation for you listening here with what you're beautifully laying out, I'd say really slow down and be real. And it's not going to be perfect, but getting to know if no one was in the room and it's just you and your journal, like what feels true there when we describe those qualities of the being seen and the.
And there really are people that will be more on the masculine where they're like, I don't really like I have emotions, but like it's not that big, or I just kind of am. Like there are people that authentically like they're more on that's where they are. And then there really can be women who are very feminine and that's authentic for them. And then there can be where we're more in the middle or more, but getting like just even having the conversations, right? Then we get to know each other more. And then how do we make space for that in each other and start to play around with balancing it?
Yeah. And that's the important piece, because once it's understood and once these qualities and the nuances of these different experiences are known, now we can do something about it. And then this isn't just an intimate partnership. This is what we're talking about today. But this can be in friendships. This can be in all kinds of certain things. And how this is practically helpful is let's say we both let's say we both walk into the house after, having a day separate, and we both walk in and we're both in feminine essence that's just more feeling oriented and wants to just like, maybe we're going to go on a date and we're talking about it, but we're both sitting on the couch and like, oh, maybe we should go on a date. Yeah, maybe we should go on a date. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? Well, I don't know. Why don't you decide? And well, what do you feel? Like you could just like hang out and get lost in each other. So there's the importance of getting to know these different qualities is now we get to inside of ourselves constantly choose if we want to get life going and happening, what would be the role I would ignite here. And like, oh, this would be a moment I'm going to choose to engage with the masculine essence. I'm going to direct and guide the energy here. Hey, we're going on a date. Why don't you go put on that, that red dress that you have? And it's like, oh, he looks so sexy in that. And, I'll see you in the truck in 10 minutes. Like that would be more of a polarized, not polarized, sorry. That would be a situation
Polarized.
with more polarity.
Although we don't end up in that. We end up in yang yang way more than yin yin.
We do, yeah. Those not a fully relatable in our
for us, but
for us it's more like I want to go here. Really, I want to go here. And then one of us usually has to choose to soften into more of the feminine.
Which we do easily.
Oh yeah.
But there's a lot of direction. We've got a lot of direction.
A lot of clear direction. There's a lot of clear direction, which I love. I love I love that experience of our life. It feels adventurous and fun.
And so I think what I also want people to hear in this is, because I think where I was getting stuck before is, but if Mike and I are so equal in this way, and there is a lot of yang yang, like, are we not able to polarize? That I was kind of getting like confused in that place. And what I'm learning is no, that's not what it is. But it is like I am learning how to soften into the feminine so much more, in this dance, because Mike can embody such a strong masculine. I'm getting to know my feminine in this whole other way.
And this is what's so cool about it is you doing that. And I don't know, whether the egg comes before the chicken or the chicken becomes for I don't know. But what I've watched in this dance of us over time is as we grow and mature and do all this work within ourselves and within our sacred relationship, it's the same on this side. I get to experience more of my masculine essence and, oh God, does it feel good? And then I get to offer that presence back to you to watch you soften into a deeper layer of your juicy feminine and getting to sit. I love this term of being Shiva sitting front row to Shakti. It's like, wow, sitting front row to watch you discover a more juicy, tender, vulnerable part of yourself is one of the most enjoyable things for that masculine part of me of like, wow, getting to be trusted. And that's another quality, just to name as we're talking about it. Masculine essence loves to be trusted. It's like so satiating. And it's just, so enjoyable to watch you in that. And what I've noticed in our relationship, the more we've understood our balance, the more we consciously choose when dependent on the situation that we're in our day-to-day life of what to invoke or what to ignite and who takes what role. I've noticed that it's allowed more of, I'll speak for myself, more of my natural balance to come online. I'm like, oh yeah, being trusted in this, and wow, you get to go more feminine over there. Oh, whoa. Yeah, it's more enjoyable that I notice then leads to us being more connected, more trusting of each other. The bond deepens.
And what's kind of exciting about this is what we're saying and what we're discovering and experiencing is that those sticky places in relationship, sometimes it might be we need to repair, or there's an issue we need to deal with, or it's our inner child. But sometimes it might just be shifting the polarity. Like there could be this sticky place that actually just could one of you embody one of the poles and shift the polarity, and suddenly something that's a problem or sticky isn't. Right. And so it's like another way to work with the field and bring more and more love and more sexiness.
Yeah, which I've had to do so many times. And that's the gift of knowing this, to have the choice of what to embody when, because there's definitely been places having that equal balance. If I'm in more of the feminine, a bit of collapsey, kind of just want to be in feeling. And I'm like, well, this is not serving, because she's like, if you're on your moon, it's like, we can't both be in that. And so I'll have to consciously choose, Mike, this is time to step up and get into, that masculine role, and it's always fruitful. Like, oh yeah, right, I can choose that. I got that. I can table this for now. And yeah, and then it ends up being more enjoyable. And if all of you that are, listening, and you're still here, we want to give you this piece that we talked about, and that is the number one killer to polarity that we've seen with the couples and within ourselves. Courtney, would you like to share what that number one killer is?
Yeah, it's when we get too rigid in one of the roles, too attached, and or um also rejecting or resisting the other pole, right? So if I'm really attached to, like, I'm being in the masculine, I'm in this role, and this is where I want to be, and I haven't actually gotten to know my inner feminine, I haven't really, like, embraced it and gotten comfortable shifting into it, then it's going to be really hard to do the dance of polarity in an alive way, because I won't be able to move with what's needed. And I also won't be able to actually properly embrace my partner in the pole that they're embodying. We have to know it. We have to know that. We have to know the feminine and the masculine inside to be able to fully appreciate and, have reverence for it in our partner.
Yeah, and I think it's important to name, in this place, it can be scary. It can be vulnerable if there was certain conditioning that's been driving the bus unconsciously, through all these years of your lived experience. It can feel frightening to then have the insight or the awareness, oh my God, I have been overriding my feminine, or I have been overriding my masculine. To have that insight and realization, and then to be open to practicing going into more of your natural energy, all the things come up, all the places of like, oh God, but when I was 4 and I would remember being connected to that part, oh, I got hurt and burned. So it's important to know that so much compassion and gentleness and warmth around this journey of like, oh, I know I got to work on engaging with that other part now. Yeah, being gentle with it, knowing it's a practice, yeah, consciously choosing where there's the safety.
And thank you so much for hanging out. We're going to give you a free offer actually in the show notes. Do you want to tell them about that?
Yeah, so we created this document that is visually enjoyable, but also just simply lays out some of the qualities between masculine essence and feminine essence. So if you scroll down in the show notes, you click that link, it'll take you to a place where you can download it, you can print it, you can stick it on the fridge. And it'll just be a great way to have some conversations with your partner and like get clear and be allies and make it fun. Bring in the play with this, and ask each other, what do you think my balance is? And then share what you think your balance is, and just, get to that clarity so you can more consciously choose these ingredients. And if you've been listening to this and getting value from it, please do us a favor to help this podcast reach more people. And if you're on a platform where there's the star rating, go give it a 5-star rating. Comment. We read all the comments. We'll comment back. How did this episode land for you? And if you're on YouTube, hit the like, hit subscribe, hit the bell, do all those things. And it really helps this podcast reach more people so that we can deepen in this journey together. And if you also love this content and you're like, wow, this is all great, but where is the place where you can be brought even deeper? Courtney and I have, the Sacred We, which is a year-long initiation where we bring couples through this arc of this content that we live by that has brought us into the juiciness of sacred relationship. And we just finished our first year arc of this dance of sacred relationship, and this offer that we have. It's a place to get closer connection to us, direct support, be in the room with other conscious couples who really want to leave a legacy in the world. If you're interested in that, we're about to start the next year arc of this initiation. together. So scroll down the show notes. There'll be a link there. Click on that, and we'd love to see you in there.
Thank you for listening. Thank you, love.
Yeah, thank you. Till next time.